Let's be real. A first date is kind of like an interview. You're trying to figure out if she's right for you. She's trying to figure out if you are right for her. We want to create a mood of romance and attraction, not the awkwardness of an interrogation. Asking questions is an essential part of any good conversation, but we can ask the right kind of questions that lead to a fun and interesting conversation. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 questions that you should ask on a first date to get a deeper connection. And I'll also share with you a tip on how to remember each question. So let's get right into it and start with question number 1. If money were no object, what would you do for a living? On a first date, obviously it's important to find out what somebody does for a living. However, most people don't like their jobs, most people find their job boring, they get bored talking about it, and you will probably get bored asking about it. So when you ask the question, what would you do for a living if money was no object? Then you get to a deeper understanding of who they really are. This is an invitation for her to open up about something she genuinely cares about, something she's genuinely passionate about, which will lead to a deeper conversation for both of you. Maybe she works in HR for an insurance company, but she would really like to open a daycare center. Maybe she wants to start a pet grooming business. Or perhaps she would rather go on a yoga retreat and come back and be a yoga teacher. Even if her answer is a little far-fetched, when you ask this question, the date escapes the normal 9-to-5 humdrum realm and enters instead the realm of dreams, hopes, and aspirations, which on a first date is exactly where you want to be. You want to make her feel like you're the kind of guy who can bring out her best qualities and help her realize her dream life. It's quite easy to remember this question. When you get onto the topic of her job, which you inevitably will on a first date, then it's your cue as you move on from this conversation topic to ask her, if money were no object, what would you do for a living? How do you like to unwind when you're feeling stressed? This is a great question to ask on a first date because it will help you understand who she is when things get a little difficult. Different women all experience different levels of stress, and they deal with that stress in very different ways. This is quite a tactical question to ask on a first date because you want to know this information before you enter a relationship with her. The way that she deals with stress might tell you whether you are compatible or not. So personally, if a woman told me that she deals with stress by getting really high on the weekends and sitting in bed, for me, that wouldn't be the kind of person I'm looking for. However, if she told me I enjoy hitting a Pilates class or a great workout, a hike, for me, that would be a green flag and a sign that she might be the kind of woman I'm looking for. Hopefully, her answer will also lead her to talk more about a particular pastime or a hobby that she enjoys, which also helps bring the conversation back onto a more light-hearted topic. But how they handle rough days and what their coping mechanisms are is a really important part of a person that you ought to understand. I recommend you ask this question shortly after dessert arrives because it's a little bit too heavy to talk about earlier on in the date, and if food is her coping mechanism, maybe the dessert will remind her. Before we carry on, I know I'm going to get questions in the comments about this tie. It's a little bit more wacky than the sort of thing I would normally wear, but it's a vintage Ralph Lauren tie. I'm guessing maybe from the 80s, judging by the size and the width, but I like it. I'm not wearing a pocket square because I think it would be a little bit too much going on, but I saw this on eBay and I realized I'm never going to see a tie like this again, so I had to snap it up. Do you have any role models or mentors in your life? This is a great question to ask on a first date because it will tell you a lot about that person without seeming like you're prying for information or getting too heavy. After all, they're talking about someone else, not themselves. However, the people a woman aspires to be like will give you a good indication of who she is and who she wants to become. It will tell you if she is going to become the kind of woman that you will want to be with in the future. She might tell you that she aspires to be like her boss, her mom, maybe a celebrity or even a fictional character. And make sure to ask why they are their role model or mentor. For example, If it's their mother might have particularly good nurturing qualities, they might have had a fantastic childhood, so that tells you that those values are important to her. However, if she tells you that her boss is her role model because she's so confident and she doesn't take shit from anyone, then that might tell you that that's the kind of woman she's aspiring to be like. I like to ask this question after we've discussed their career. You've already established what they do, you've already established what they might like to do. Now it's time to establish what they want to become. And be prepared to have a good answer to this question because I'm sure that she's going to ask it back to you. What's your favorite and least favorite thing about this city? This is a fantastic question to ask on a first date for two reasons. First, it will tell you if they like doing the same kind of things as you. For example, if there are fantastic hiking trails and nature activities in your city, and that's what she likes about it, well, do you like those things too? Secondly, and more interestingly, how they feel about their city will often reflect how they feel about themselves. If somebody is positive and enthusiastic, then you can imagine that there will be a lot of fun things that you two can do together. If they are very negative about where they live, they say it sucks, well, firstly, why stay? And secondly, that might indicate that they are just in a negative place in their life. If somebody tells me they don't like living in Chicago, I would immediately imagine that we're going to be rather incompatible, not only because I think this is a great city, but also because there are so many things that I enjoy doing in this city that if somebody else doesn't enjoy, we're probably not a good match. You can ask this question pretty early on in a first date because it's seemingly very light-hearted. It's a way to establish some common ground and talk about how you both arrived in this city. So if you've not already got onto this topic of conversation, by the time the appetizers arrive, now that's your cue to ask her, what are your favorite and least favorite things about this city? Are there any assumptions people make about you that are totally untrue? This is a great question to ask on a first date, to scratch beneath the surface and find out who they truly are. Asking this question will give the other person a feeling of being seen by you, and they will likely appreciate the opportunity to open up and connect on a deeper level. For most of us, there is a difference between who we really are and who others think we are. And ultimately, we're looking for somebody who will get to know this hidden side of us and love us for it. For example, being a full-time content creator, dressing the way I do, my accent, there are all assumptions that come with that, and some of them simply aren't true. So I think it's a very enriching experience on a date if you get the opportunity to bust those myths and express who you really are and how you really feel. When this question gets turned back on you, then it's your opportunity to voluntarily share something that didn't already come up or break some kind of stereotype that she might have about who you are. This is a great question to ask toward the end of the evening when you've already established some level of rapport and you feel that connection that you want to take a little bit deeper. And the final question that you should ask on a first date is, shall we split the bill? No, I'm just joking. I hope you've enjoyed these 5 questions that I recommend you ask on a first date. So by asking these questions, I hope you're going to elevate your dating experiences and start connecting with people more easily. But if you need some help with your dating life, then I highly recommend you join the Gent Z community. This is a fantastic network and resource of gentlemen around the world who can give you advice about your dating life. Personally, I recently shared an outfit from a first date that I went on this week. Within the community, you will also have free access to the Gentleman Method, a self-improvement protocol that I created around the values of gentlemanly tradition. And in that course, there is a module on this very topic of dating. So the link is down below to take advantage of that. I'm sure you are going to have a fantastic experience in this community, and I look forward to seeing you in there. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you gentlemen soon.